James Webb may have just found a planet that changes everything. And it's not Earth. In the silent darkness beyond our skies, a world has emerged from the cosmic shadows, carrying with it a probability so staggering, scientists themselves had to double-check the numbers, the 9.7% chance of life. It's the kind of statistic that should leave humanity celebrating, a discovery that could prove once and for all that we are not alone. And yet, with every triumph the data seemed to whisper, a shadow of doubt crept closer. Because if life really thrives out there, the question is not just what kind of life, but whether it's something we are ready to meet. For decades, we believed Earth was unique, a rare jewel floating in an endless sea of emptiness. Every search for another Earth 2.0 ended in disappointment. Planets too hot, too cold, too toxic, or simply barren. But this time, Webb's golden mirrors caught a signal that refused to fit into disappointment. Oxygen signatures, methane hints, and water vapor clouds aligned in perfect unison, the fingerprints of biology painted across a distant atmosphere. To some, it was proof of paradise, a planet that might not just be habitable, but better than Earth itself. Imagine skies richer in color, oceans stretching twice as deep, air fresher and cleaner than we have ever breathed. It sounds like a dream humanity has always carried. But dreams often come with a cost, and paradise is not always what it seems. Because what if this discovery is not a gift, but a warning? A planet that looks perfect on paper might be a world where storms rage with unimaginable fury, where the very air carries unseen poisons, where life exists but in a form so alien it could crush us without even trying. A 99.7% chance of life might not mean green forests and oceans full of fish. It could mean ecosystems so hostile they make Earth's harshest deserts feel like a gentle garden. Webb may not just have found a second home, it may have found a mirror showing us how fragile ours really is. And that is where the unease lies. Humanity has always longed for connection, for proof that we are not alone under the endless sky. But in chasing that proof, have we asked ourselves what it would mean to actually find it? If another world really breathes life, then the story of the universe is far more complicated and far more dangerous than we ever imagined. Tonight, we explore not just a discovery but a contradiction, a planet that seems to promise hope, yet hints at fear. A paradise that may be a trap, a number that feels certain, yet opens the door to chaos. What if this planet is not what you think? It began with silence, suspended far from the Earth, where no air could scatter its view and no noise could drown out the whispers of the cosmos. The James Webb Space Telescope unfolded its golden mirrors like a flower opening to the void. Each hexagonal panel locked into place with mathematical precision, forming a perfect eye aimed at the unknown. For months, it scanned the blackness, peeling back layers of time itself. Every photon it collected had traveled for billions of years, carrying secrets older than our world, older than our sun, older even than the Milky Way. And then, in that abyss, Webb caught something extraordinary, a spectral fingerprint that did not belong to empty rock or frozen wasteland, but to a world alive with possibility. The data arrived first as faint dips in starlight. A planet crossing in front of its star left behind tiny shadows, subtle changes Webb could decode. In those shadows, scientists saw hints of an atmosphere. But not just any atmosphere. This one carried markers that made hearts stop and eyes widen. Oxygen, methane, water vapor. Each by itself could be explained away: volcanic eruptions, frozen comets, chemical tricks of geology. But together, they formed a pattern that nature rarely creates without help from something else, something alive. The methane and oxygen should have destroyed each other quickly, yet they existed side by side. Water vapor floated above in clouds, suggesting oceans below. The signature was clear, undeniable, and almost too perfect. Teams ran the calculations again and again, trying to prove themselves wrong. Every model, every correction, every cautious adjustment of the numbers led to the same staggering result: 99.7% probability that what they were seeing was not a dead rock, but a living world. It was the kind of number that leaves no room for coincidence. Imagine rolling a die 1,000 times and landing on the same face almost every throw. That's what Webb had revealed, a cosmic throw of the dice that almost demanded the presence of life. Astronomers sat stunned, staring at graphs that seemed more like science fiction than science. Had humanity truly glimpsed another oasis, hidden in the infinite desert of space? But within the celebration, whispers of unease began. The signal was too clean, too strong, too precise. It was almost as if the planet wanted to be noticed, as though the universe itself had raised a hand and pointed, saying, "Look here." For every glass raised in triumph, there was a furrowed brow asking uncomfortable questions. Could nature really have stacked the odds so neatly? Or was Webb's golden eye catching something stranger, something even our best equations were not designed to see? Because buried within the spectral lines and chemical fingerprints was a detail no one could ignore. A detail that refused to fit, that broke the story of paradise and replaced it with something far more unsettling. The data did not just suggest life, it suggested something beyond it, and that is where the mystery deepened. Numbers alone rarely inspire awe. A statistic, a fraction, a percentage, these are tools of science, cold and impersonal. But sometimes a number is so improbable, so extraordinary, that it shakes the foundations of everything we thought we understood. 0.5% was such a number. To grasp why it mattered, you first have to understand what astronomers are really looking for when they search the skies for signs of life. Life, as we know it, is fragile. It requires liquid water because water dissolves and carries the molecules that build cells. It requires an atmosphere stable enough to shield but not suffocate. It requires temperatures that allow oceans to exist, not boil away or freeze solid. And it requires chemistry that hints at constant renewal, gases like oxygen and methane dancing together in defiance of the odds because something is replenishing them. Webb had found all of these markers at once, neatly stacked on top of each other like a cosmic calling card. That alone was extraordinary. On Earth, the same signals surround us every day, hidden in plain sight. Our atmosphere holds just the right mix of nitrogen, oxygen, and trace gases to keep us alive. Methane leaks from swamps, from animals, from the churning cycles of biology, but it doesn't last long before oxygen tears it apart. The fact that it remains detectable at all is proof that life is constantly putting it back into the sky. Water vapor rises from oceans, lakes, and rivers, cycling endlessly through evaporation and rain. If you were an alien telescope looking at Earth from light years away, these fingerprints would scream one thing: life. And yet Earth is only one planet out of trillions. The odds of finding another so finely balanced seemed almost impossible, until Webb did. Think of it this way: if the universe is an ocean, most worlds are barren rocks sinking to the bottom, or frozen blocks drifting in darkness. A few are fiery torches burning so hot nothing could survive. Even the rare worlds that sit in the so-called habitable zone often fail in hidden ways. Their atmospheres are stripped by radiation. Their oceans are buried under miles of ice. Their chemistry is sterile, locked in equilibrium that never produces the delicate imbalance of biology. Out of this chaos, Earth's perfection has always felt like an accident, a 1 in a trillion stroke of luck, which is why the 99.7% figure felt like a miracle, or a challenge. To say a planet has a 99.7% chance of life is to say that in the entire vastness of space, we may have stumbled onto something almost as rare as existence itself. And if that number holds true, it forces us to ask a question that humanity has whispered for centuries: are we really alone? But there is a darker side to this probability. Numbers can inspire hope, but they can also mislead. 99.7% does not mean paradise. It does not mean rolling green hills and oceans full of fish waiting for us to explore. It simply means the conditions for life are extremely likely. What kind of life is another matter entirely. It could be microbial, simple cells clinging to rocks, invisible to the eye. It could be strange ecosystems thriving in ways that defy our imagination. Or it could be something far more advanced, something watching its own skies with tools as sharp as ours. A perfect percentage may lead us to imagine comfort, but it could just as easily mean danger, because a planet that so perfectly mimics Earth's signals may also harbor life that is not only thriving, but deeply alien. And alien does not always mean friendly. This is why the number matters. It is not just a probability, it is a doorway. A doorway into possibility, into fear, into wonder. For scientists, 99.7% is a statistic that screams for exploration. For humanity, it is a mirror that forces us to confront what we hope for and what we fear. Is it proof that we are not alone, or a warning that we are closer to something we do not understand? Numbers do not comfort. Numbers do not protect. Numbers simply tell us where to look. And when Webb's golden mirrors pointed to that world and whispered 99.7%, the universe was not promising us a new home. It was daring us to step closer to the unknown. Because, in the end, 99.7% doesn't mean it's safe. It only means it's alive. When astronomers first pieced together the signals from this world, the temptation was almost irresistible to imagine not just another Earth, but a better one. The data hinted at an atmosphere thick and protective, a veil of gases stronger than Earth's fragile skin. Oxygen was abundant but not suffocating. Ozone stretched wider, shielding the surface from deadly radiation more effectively than our own layer ever could. Above it all, a magnetic field seemed to hum with unusual strength, wrapping the planet in an invisible cocoon. On Earth, this magnetic shield is the only reason our atmosphere hasn't been blown away by solar winds. On this world, the shield looked nearly twice as strong, a sign that its skies might have been preserved for eons longer than ours. If you were to stand there and breathe, the air would not only fill your lungs, it would protect you from the very fury of space. Even its rhythms seemed closer to human comfort than our own. Earth spins on its axis once every 24 hours, balancing day and night. This planet's rotation appeared nearly identical, only slightly longer, giving its days just a touch more time under the light, and its nights just a little more room for rest. Gravity, too, was a surprise. So many habitable exoplanets turn out to be crushing worlds with pulls that would break human bones, or lightweights where even walking feels like stumbling across a trampoline. But here, the numbers suggested a force so close to Earth's that our bodies might scarcely notice the difference. The planet did not just meet the criteria for habitability, it seemed to match them with uncanny precision, as if it had been built to host creatures like us. And then there were the oceans. Webb's analysis of water vapor hinted at vast reservoirs, far deeper and more expansive than our own. Imagine seas stretching across half the globe, their depths plunging to double the measure of Earth's Mariana Trench. Picture forests nourished by these oceans, their canopies soaring higher than redwoods, their roots fed by rich mineral cycles that have never known disruption. The skies above such a world would glow with clarity, the blues deeper, the clouds more radiant, shaped by an atmosphere thicker and cleaner than ours. Even the starlight would shine differently, its sun slightly smaller, slightly redder, bathing the planet in a softer golden hue that never scorched, never froze, but lingered like an endless spring. It was a paradise painted in cosmic detail, a world that seemed to outdo Earth in every way. But the universe rarely gives gifts without a shadow. For all its perfection, the planet's very symmetry raised questions. How could a world line up so neatly with our needs? How could it echo our comfort so precisely in a cosmos known for extremes? Scientists cautioned that paradise on paper could mask a nightmare in reality. A thicker atmosphere might hold more heat, leading to storms so vast they would dwarf our hurricanes. Stronger gravity might pull at the oceans until they surged across continents in tidal waves that never ceased. Forests that grow taller may not be gentle havens of shade, but jungles so dense and hostile they strangle anything that enters. Even the magnetic shield, so powerful and comforting in theory, might be the only defense against a star prone to violent flares, a sun that batters its planets with storms of radiation fierce enough to sterilize the unwary. What seemed like blessings might, under the wrong conditions, reveal themselves as survival traps. That is the contradiction this discovery left us with, a world we might dream of, a world that could inspire us to hope for something beyond Earth, and yet a world that might be the cruelest illusion the cosmos has ever shown. Perfection may not always mean safety. In nature, sometimes beauty hides danger, and balance conceals violence. Perhaps this planet really is a paradise waiting for us, or perhaps it is something else entirely. A stage set by physics, masking a truth too harsh to see at first glance. A place we might dream of, but dreams can turn to nightmares. When the first wave of data suggested life, the natural assumption was that Webb had glimpsed biology at its most basic level. Microbes, perhaps, or strange, single-celled organisms adapting to their alien seas. After all, this is the life we know to expect. Simple, resilient, hidden beneath the surface, thriving where conditions permit. It is the logical explanation. And yet, as more data came in, patterns emerged that refused to be confined to the safety of microbes. The planet's atmosphere didn't just show life's fingerprints. It showed movement, rhythm, change. Seasons seemed to sway not only with temperature but with color, as if vegetation itself might be breathing in time with its star. Scientists studying the spectral lines noticed subtle shifts across months of observation. The signal dipped in ways that mirrored our own seasonal growth cycles. On Earth, spring awakens the forests, and with them, carbon dioxide drops while oxygen rises. Autumn strips the leaves and the balance shifts again. To their surprise, Webb's data hinted at something eerily similar. Fluctuations in gases that suggested vast stretches of greenery, inhaling and exhaling across a year. Was this mere coincidence? Could geological processes mimic the song of a living biosphere? Some argued yes, volcanoes and chemistry could play tricks. But the persistence of the pattern whispered otherwise. Nature rarely imitates life so perfectly without life being present to write the script. And then came the stranger clue, pulses of light. Webb's instruments, sensitive to variations across wavelengths, detected brief, unexplained flashes reflecting off the planet's surface. They were irregular, sometimes faint, sometimes startlingly sharp, as though something on the ground caught starlight and flung it back in ways no cloud or ocean normally would. Could it have been lightning storms? Perhaps glacial reflections? Maybe. But the cadence felt off, the rhythm strangely intentional. Some dared to wonder, could these be the first flickers of technology, signals from structures or machines catching the light of their sun? The thought was dismissed publicly as speculation, but privately it lingered in scientific circles like a secret too dangerous to voice. Because if the flashes were not natural, then they were something else. And something else changes everything. The debate split quickly into camps. One side argued fiercely for microbial life, pointing out that even a microbe on another world would transform our understanding of the universe. To prove biology exists twice is to prove it may exist everywhere. That discovery alone would be enough to redraw the borders of science and philosophy. But the other side, the quieter yet more daring voices, leaned into the unsettling possibility of complexity. Forests, creatures, civilizations. If Webb was catching the faint echoes of advanced life, then humanity was no longer peering into the void alone. We would not be the first to build, to signal, to wonder. We would merely be latecomers to a cosmic stage already occupied. And that is where the tension now lives. The signals are undeniable, but their meaning remains cloaked in mystery. Is this planet teeming with microbes too small to see? with forests rising and falling across endless seasons, with civilizations perhaps whose machines flash light into the sky? Or is it all a mirage, a trick of chemistry and reflection that our minds, hungry for connection, cannot help but shape into life? For now, no one can say. But one question lingers louder than all the rest. If something lives there, does it know we're watching? Every discovery carries a shadow, and the closer scientists studied this world, the more its perfection began to fray at the edges. At first glance, it seemed balanced, Earth-like, almost tailored for comfort. But the universe is not known for kindness, and the details whispered of dangers that could turn wonder into horror. The first of these was tidal locking, a phenomenon that traps a planet into an eternal embrace with its star. If this world is indeed tidally locked, then one side faces its sun forever, scorched by endless daylight, while the other drowns in unending night, frozen beneath eternal darkness. Between them lies a twilight zone, a narrow strip where day and night kiss, where temperatures might balance just enough to harbor seas and winds. To live there would mean existing in a fragile corridor pressed between fire and ice. One step too far east and you burn. One step too far west and you freeze. Such a world would not be paradise, but a knife's edge where survival depends on never leaving the narrow path. And then there were the toxins. At first, Webb's readings seemed to promise a breathable sky, rich in oxygen and softened by water vapor. But deeper analysis revealed strange chemical traces buried in the spectrum. Compounds that should not coexist, signatures that could belong to volcanic gases, or metallic elements rising from the soil. On Earth, we know how easily a small concentration of poison can end life. Arsenic in water, sulfur in air, carbon monoxide in a closed room. On a planetary scale, even a fraction too much can turn a garden into a grave. What appeared to be a hospitable blend might hide unseen dangers, gases that mimic safety until the first breath is drawn. It is possible that life thrives there, yes, but it may be life adapted to toxins that would kill us instantly. What looks like Earth to us could feel like a chemical weapon to our lungs. Gravity, too, posed a hidden threat. Though the numbers hinted at comfort, some models suggested this world might pull with greater strength than Earth, nearly double in some scenarios. On paper, the difference sounds small, but in practice, it changes everything. The human heart would labor to pump blood, bones would strain beneath the constant pull, muscles would tire in minutes. The oceans, pulled by that gravity, would rise into swells taller than skyscrapers, superstorms roaring across continents with forces no structure could endure. Winds would slam through forests like scythes, stripping trees bare, shaping landscapes into scars. Lightning, fueled by denser atmospheres, could split the skies in flashes that last for hours. Imagine a storm so vast it circles the planet endlessly, a hurricane without end. On Earth, such violence is rare. On this world, it might be the norm. And beyond the physical dangers lies the psychological one. A world that looks like paradise but behaves like a predator could break the minds of those who try to settle it. To gaze on oceans more beautiful than our own, only to know they conceal toxins. To walk forests taller than redwoods, only to realize they are shaped by storms that could crush you. To live under skies more radiant than Earth's, only to discover that every breath could be your last. Paradise is dangerous because it lures us in with comfort, only to reveal the cost when it is too late to leave. Sometimes beauty is not a gift but a disguise, a mask the universe wears to keep its cruelest tricks hidden until we are already trapped. And so scientists began to speak with caution. Yes, this world holds a 99.7% chance of life. Yes, its signals are almost too perfect. But perfection can be a lie. Sometimes what looks like paradise is actually a cosmic trap. There comes a moment in science when evidence stops whispering and begins to shout, when the data no longer bends to fit our models but demands that the models themselves break. This planet, with its almost too perfect signals of habitability, its oxygen, methane, and water vapor, layered like brushstrokes on a cosmic canvas, had begun to shout. The closer astronomers looked, the less sense it made. Because according to every formation model we have, planets like this should not exist not here, not now, not this soon after the dawn of time. Yet Webb's golden mirrors do not lie. They reflect the universe exactly as it presents itself, even if what they show us feels like fiction. And what they showed here threatened to unravel the very physics that had guided us for a century. For one, the planet's very age raised alarms. Our models of planet formation suggest that worlds capable of hosting complex atmospheres need long stretches of stability to form, billions of years of cooling, settling, and balancing. Earth itself took nearly 4 billion years to shape oceans, atmosphere, and biosphere into harmony. But the signals Webb captured came from a system astonishingly young on cosmic scales, a star not yet past middle age, a planet that by our reckoning should have still been struggling to settle. Planets shouldn't form this way so early, and yet here it was, flaunting signatures not of immaturity but of thriving balance. To see such perfection so soon was like finding a fully grown oak in the middle of a field of saplings, a tree that had skipped the slow crawl of time and leapt straight into maturity. How could nature cheat the clock so brazenly? Even more unsettling were the life signatures themselves. On Earth, oxygen at today's levels only became abundant after billions of years of microbial work, the Great Oxidation Event, when cyanobacteria rewrote our skies. Methane in stable concentrations requires constant renewal from vast cycles of biology, forests, wetlands, oceans, teeming with life. To see both gases intertwined so strongly on another planet should imply not just life, but vigorous planet-wide ecosystems already in full bloom. But this makes no sense. Life signatures shouldn't be this strong, not on a world so young, not without time to climb the long ladder of evolution. It was as though Webb had skipped to the final chapter of a book before the first words were even written. What force, what mechanism could fast-forward biology on such a scale? Some suggested geochemistry, exotic volcanism, or even atmospheric quirks. But each explanation collapsed under scrutiny. The data refused to shrink back into safety. It demanded a larger answer. This is where the tension sharpened into something almost philosophical. If Webb is right, then our timeline for life is wrong. Our models of planetary birth are wrong. Perhaps even our understanding of physics itself is incomplete. Imagine a cosmos where life is not the rare, fragile outcome of a delicate equation, but the inevitable consequence of matter itself. Imagine a universe so fertile that it births living worlds like seeds on the wind, scattering them across galaxies long before we thought possible. That is one possibility. But there is another darker one. What if what Webb sees is not reality, but a distortion, a mirage created by physics bending at its edges? Could the signals be echoes of phenomena outside our universe, bleeding into ours like light through a crack in the door? Could we be mistaking the fingerprints of something beyond biology, beyond planets, beyond even matter itself, for the comfort of life? Some theorists dared to speak of simulation, of layered realities overlapping. If the cosmos is a kind of code, then Webb may have peered into a glitch, a planet that exists not because it should, but because the program faltered. Others pointed toward multiverse theories, suggesting that Webb's eye had glimpsed a bleed-through from another universe where the rules run differently, where planets leap into perfection without struggle, where life blooms in fast forward. Even among more grounded physicists, whispers of exotic physics spread, quantum effects scaled to planetary levels, dark matter sculpting atmospheres, or forces we do not yet have names for shaping reality in ways our equations cannot capture. The possibility that Webb's data pointed not to a planet, but to the cracks in our understanding of reality itself, was one too haunting to ignore. And so the debate raged, caught between awe and fear. Was this truly a habitable planet, A better-than-Earth twin growing under the laws of physics we thought we knew? Or was it a sign that our laws are not laws at all, merely guesses wrapped in the illusion of certainty? Webb has been called a time machine, a mirror into the past. But what if, in this case, it has become a window into something else entirely? Not the past, not even the present, but a reality adjacent to our own, brushing up against ours in ways we can sense but not yet comprehend. What if, in staring into the abyss, Webb has forced us to admit that the abyss is deeper, stranger, and more unstable than we ever imagined? If this planet truly exists, then it does not just add to our knowledge. It subtracts from it. It tears at the fabric of what we thought was firm, showing us that even our best models are fragile scaffolding against the infinite storm of the cosmos. The discovery does not say, "Here is life." It says, "Here are the cracks." And through those cracks, something greater, or something far more terrifying, may already be seeping in. Which leaves us with the most unsettling question of all. Is Webb seeing reality, or something outside it? For as long as we have looked up at the night sky, humanity has carried a quiet arrogance. The belief that Earth is somehow chosen, somehow set apart, a miracle in a sea of chaos. Every culture, every faith, every philosophy has wrestled with the same question. Are we unique? Are we the center of the story, or merely a footnote in a far larger script? For centuries, science and myth collided in their answers. The telescope dethroned Earth from the center of the universe. The microscope revealed life's shared machinery, showing that humans were not crafted in isolation, but shaped by the same processes that molded bacteria and trees. Yet even as these revelations humbled us, one comfort remained. No other planet had ever whispered back. Earth was flawed, imperfect, even wounded, but it was ours, and it was alone. That loneliness gave us meaning. It told us our story mattered because it was singular. Now Webb has threatened to take even that away. If this planet truly breathes with life, then Earth is not special. It is not the one fragile oasis among deserts. It is one of many, a garden among gardens, perhaps not even the most beautiful, perhaps not even the most stable. For the first time, we must confront the possibility that the miracle of existence is not ours to own. This could be a source of hope, of joy. If life blooms elsewhere, then the cosmos is generous, scattering seeds across galaxies, promising that the story does not end here if Earth should one day falter. Perhaps this planet is not only a mirror, but an invitation, a second home, a place where the human story could continue if our world grows unlivable. In that vision, Webb has given us more than a discovery. It has given us a future. But hope has a twin, and its name is fear. Because if Earth is not unique, then humanity is not unique. If life blooms easily, then intelligence may not be rare. And if intelligence is not rare, then we are not the first, nor the most advanced, nor perhaps even the most significant. In the vast scales of time and space, we may be children, stumbling onto a stage already crowded with older, stronger voices. Some may be indifferent. Some may be hostile. Some may already have looked our way and chosen to remain silent. In this reflection, Webb has not given us a second home. It has given us the knowledge that we are not alone, and the silence of the universe may be more frightening than its noise. If others are out there, why have they not spoken? Or worse, what if they have and we simply failed to understand? This duality, hope and fear, promise and peril, now hangs over every interpretation of Webb's data. Politicians see a frontier, a chance to extend human destiny into the stars. Philosophers see a challenge to our place in the cosmos, a demand to rethink identity itself. Religious voices find both wonder and threat, some embracing the idea that creation is abundant, others recoiling from the notion that humanity is not central to it. For scientists, the reflection is simpler but no less profound. Our theories are smaller than reality, and reality will not bend to our comfort. To look through Webb is not just to see other worlds, It is to see the limits of our own. And perhaps that is the greatest weight of all. For the first time, the mirror Webb holds up is not only to the stars, it is to us. It shows us Earth as it truly is, not unique, not chosen, but part of a greater pattern we are only beginning to glimpse. This can be humbling, even humiliating, but it can also be liberating. If Earth is not the center, then the universe is larger than our fears. If we are not alone, then perhaps we are not abandoned. If we are one of many, then perhaps the story is not one of exclusion, but of belonging. In this light, Webb does not diminish us. It expands us. It invites us to step beyond the fragile comfort of uniqueness into the vast, terrifying, beautiful truth of multiplicity. Still, the fear lingers. What if this reflection is not a gift, but a burden too heavy for us to bear? Humanity is already divided over borders, resources, beliefs. How will we react to the knowledge of other worlds, perhaps other minds? Will we unite under the awe of shared discovery, or fracture further, as some cling to Earth's fading illusion of uniqueness while others reach hungrily for the stars? Webb's mirror does not tell us. It only shows us what is possible. The answer will be ours to write. And that is perhaps the most haunting reflection of all. The universe does not revolve around Earth, but Earth may still destroy itself long before it learns to reach another world. So we stand at a threshold, with Webb as the lantern casting its glow ahead. Behind us lies the comfort of loneliness, the old certainty that Earth was singular. Before us lies something larger, stranger, more demanding, a cosmos where life may be abundant, where humanity is one among countless voices, where survival and meaning will be forged not by isolation, but by connection. The mirror is unflinching, and what it shows us is not always flattering. But perhaps that is what we most need, a reminder that we are not as special as we believed, and that this truth can either terrify us or set us free. For the first time, the mirror Webb holds up isn't just to the stars, it's to us. The world gasped when the numbers first appeared, 99.7% chance of life. Headlines shouted second Earth and paradise found, but science is rarely so simple. Webb's mirrors may have captured signals that look like life, yet the cosmos is a master of deception. Nature often hides its true face behind masks, and what seems like a lush oasis at first glance may, upon closer study, turn out to be nothing more than an elaborate illusion. To truly understand this discovery, we must look past the celebration and confront the unsettling possibility that what Webb has found is not what we think. The discovery is real, the signals are undeniable, but their meaning may be far stranger than the word life can contain. One explanation is almost painfully mundane: false positives. Our own Earth has, in the past, produced signals that could easily trick a distant telescope into believing it was alive, even when it was not. Volcanoes, for instance, can spew out methane in vast quantities, creating the illusion of biological activity. Lightning storms can trigger reactions in the atmosphere that mimic oxygen signatures. Even geological quirks, the grinding of tectonic plates, the heating of rocks deep below, can produce gases that look suspiciously like biosignatures. What Webb saw may not be forests or oceans breathing, but the restless churn of a geologically active world, its crust tearing and vomiting gases into the sky. If this is true, then the miracle of 99.7% life becomes something more sobering. Proof not of biology, but of geology in overdrive. A world alive not with creatures, but with fire and stone. But then there is the darker possibility, one that chills the heart even more. What if Webb has not caught the rise of life, but its death throes? Imagine a planet once teeming with oceans, forests, and civilizations, now collapsing under the weight of time. Its biosphere flickers like a candle nearing its end, releasing gases in desperate imbalance. Oxygen remains high because plants are gone, but decomposition lingers. Methane lingers too, a leftover from long-dead ecosystems now crumbling to dust. The seasonal shifts are not signs of thriving vegetation, but the spasms of a planet in decline, its systems breaking apart and leaving behind traces that mimic the vigor of life. In this haunting vision, Webb has not found a paradise waiting to be explored. It has found a graveyard echoing with the last breaths of a once-living world. A mirror not of our future hopes, but of our deepest fears. And then comes the most unsettling twist of all, one whispered in hushed conversations, but rarely spoken aloud. What if the signals are not biological at all, but technological? To assume gases like oxygen and methane come from plants or microbes is natural, but what if they are byproducts of machines? After all, our own industrial civilization leaves fingerprints in Earth's skies, carbon dioxide spikes, nitrogen oxides, chlorofluorocarbons. From light years away, these could be mistaken for strange natural cycles. If an alien civilization exists on this planet, their industries, energy systems, or even terraforming projects could easily mimic biosignatures. And what of those unexplained pulses of light, the irregular flashes Webb caught glimmering off the surface? Perhaps they are not storms or glaciers. Perhaps they are reflections of vast structures, orbital satellites, or even deliberate signals. If so, then Webb has not just glimpsed biology, or it has glimpsed intelligence. And intelligence changes the game entirely. The thought alone is dizzying. What if humanity's first proof of alien life is not a microbe clinging to rock, but a civilization announcing itself in gases and lights across the void? Some argue this is wishful thinking, a projection of our own technological biases onto the cosmos. Others warn it is naive optimism. A key for an advanced civilization may not be friendly, and its silence so far may not be accidental. But either way, the possibility cannot be ignored. Because if Webb's readings are not life as we define it, but something greater, then the meaning of the discovery is far stranger than any headline can capture. It is not just another Earth. It is another story, one we have not yet learned how to read. Even skeptics are unsettled. They know false positives are possible, yet they cannot explain away the sheer strength of the signals. They know dying ecosystems can mimic life, yet the rhythms Webb captured feel too precise, too sustained to be mere decay. And they know advanced civilizations are a leap too far for cautious science, yet the flashes of light remain stubbornly unexplained. Each explanation, geology, death, technology, fits pieces of the puzzle, but none complete it. The planet sits in the data like a riddle, daring us to solve it. Every theory makes sense, and yet none makes sense enough. It is as though the universe is taunting us, showing just enough to inflame our curiosity, withholding just enough to deepen our confusion. What then are we left with? A discovery that is undeniable yet indescribable. A world that almost certainly hosts something, yet that something defies our categories. It could be microbes or machines, forests or factories, paradise or ruin. It could be all of these at once or none. What it cannot be is simple. Webb has forced us to face the reality that the universe does not owe us clarity. It only offers hints, fragments, whispers in the dark. And perhaps that is the truest meaning of this discovery, that life, death, and intelligence may be less separate than we imagine. That what we call biology, geology, and technology are threads woven into a single tapestry we cannot yet see in full. The planet is real, the signals are real, but the meaning is not what you think. And so the story twists back onto us. The world we found may be paradise or grave or machine. It may be all three. The only certainty is uncertainty. The only answer is that the discovery means more and less than we want it to. Perhaps the universe has always been this way, full of truths too strange for our narrow definitions, realities too vast for our fragile minds. For now, Webb has given us not an answer, but a question. And the question is more haunting than any conclusion could be. What if this planet is not a reflection of Earth, but a reflection of something beyond Earth, something outside our imagination, something that refuses to fit the box we call life? That is the twist. The The discovery is real, but its meaning is far stranger. And until we learn to face that strangeness, we will never truly know what Webb has shown us. Webb didn't just find a world, it found a question. And perhaps that is more unsettling than any discovery could ever be. A world we can measure, chart, and map is a world we can eventually explain. But a question, especially one written across the stars, does not yield so easily. It lingers. It gnaws at us. It reshapes everything we thought we knew. This planet, with its impossible signals and its defiant 99.7% chance of life, has become that question. Not does life exist, not can we find another Earth, but something far deeper, far stranger. Something that forces us to reconsider whether reality itself is stable, whether our models of time, space, and existence can hold beneath the weight of what Webb has revealed. A planet is a discovery. A planet that breaks physics is a question. And this planet is very much a question. Consider what we've seen. A world that appears better than Earth, yet may be nothing more than a cosmic trap. A planet that seems to breathe with life, yet may only be coughing out its last dying gases. A signal that looks like biology, yet could be the echo of technology. In each scenario, the same truth remains. What we are looking at is not what we think. Webb has forced us into the uncomfortable position of admitting that the universe is stranger than our categories allow. The discovery is real, but the meaning refuses to be pinned down. And in that refusal lies the tension that now grips astronomy, philosophy, and the human imagination alike. For the first time in history, we are staring at a world that seems to answer our oldest question, only to replace it with 10 more. If there is truly a 99.7% chance of life on this planet, then why are we still alone? That is the first cliff edge this discovery drags us to. Life, by our definitions, should be there, breathing and thriving. But across the universe, no signal has ever spoken back. No message, no beacon, no whisper has ever cut through the silence. If life is so likely, then why does the cosmos feel so empty? This is the Fermi paradox sharpened to a blade, a contradiction that Webb has made impossible to ignore. Either life is far rarer than we think, and the 99.7% is a cruel illusion, or life is common, and its silence is deliberate. Both answers are terrifying. One suggests we may never find another voice. The other suggests voices are everywhere, and they are choosing not to speak. And that leads us to the second cliff edge. If life exists, what does it want? For centuries, humanity has imagined alien civilizations in extremes. Some picture invaders, worlds stripped bare by conquerors who leap between stars. Others imagine saviors, ancient beings whose wisdom could guide us through our chaos. Still others see mirrors, civilizations as flawed as our own, striving, failing, rebuilding, just like us. But Webb's discovery complicates all of these visions. If this planet hosts life, it may be life so alien we cannot even recognize its desires. What does it mean to want when biology itself might follow rules unknown to us? What if survival, reproduction, and meaning take forms we cannot imagine? What if their silence is not caution but simply indifference, as though we are ants shouting into the void, hoping a giant will notice? Or what if silence is not indifference at all, but strategy, a decision to remain hidden until the moment is right? The question of what life wants may be the most haunting of all, because it forces us to confront the possibility that we may not like the answer when it finally arrives. In this way, Webb has done something extraordinary. It has turned the telescope outward, and in doing so turned it inward. The reflection is no longer about whether planets exist or even whether life exists. It is about what humanity will do when faced with the possibility that we are neither unique nor prepared. Will we greet such discoveries with humility or arrogance, with unity or division, with awe or with fear? These questions may matter more than the signals themselves, because the universe is not waiting for us to decide. The stars will go on shining, the planets will go on orbiting, the galaxies will go on colliding. The only variable in this grand equation is us, our reaction, our choices, our story.
Webb has given us the question.
What we do with it will define whether we are ready for the answer. Perhaps the greatest irony is this. In seeking the stars, we may have discovered Earth anew. The 99.7% chance of life forces us to remember that our own planet carries a 100% chance of life, fragile though it may be. If paradise exists elsewhere, then perhaps paradise here is worth saving. If life blooms so abundantly that even distant planets carry its marks, then perhaps life here should be cherished all the more. Webb's mirror does not just show us what might be out there. It shows us what is already here. Oceans that still breathe, forests that still exhale, skies that still shimmer with the improbable gift of balance. And maybe the most terrifying possibility is not that life exists elsewhere, but that we will destroy it here before we ever reach it out there. And yet, the wonder remains. Against the silence, against the fear, against the fragility of our species, Webb has given us something we have never had before, proof that the universe is more alive, more complicated and more mysterious than we dared to believe. For centuries, we stared at the stars and wondered if they were watching us. Now, for the first time, we know they are holding secrets far stranger than our imaginations ever dared. The golden mirrors of Webb have cracked open reality, revealing that certainty is a myth and mystery is the truth. And if mystery is the truth, then our story is only beginning. So what are we to make of this world?
A second Earth? A dying world?
A technological beacon? Or something stranger still, something outside even those categories? The answer for now is all of the above. It is life and not life. It is hope and warning. It is paradise and trap. It is a mirror held up to humanity, showing us not only what we long for, but what we fear most. And perhaps that is the real meaning of Webb's discovery. It has not given us comfort nor clarity. It has given us contradiction. And contradiction is the seed of progress, the friction that drives science, philosophy, and imagination forward. Without contradiction, we stagnate. With it, we grow. And so perhaps the planet Webb has revealed is less a destination and more a challenge. A challenge to think bigger, to look deeper, to prepare ourselves for a universe that will not fit neatly into our hopes. In the end, the discovery is not just about a planet.
It is about us.
It is about whether we are ready to leave behind the arrogance of uniqueness and embrace the humility of being one among many. It is about whether we can balance the terror of insignificance with the wonder of belonging. It is about whether we can look into the mirror Webb holds up and accept what it shows us. A species standing on the edge of knowledge, trembling, awed, frightened, but still reaching forward.
And maybe that is the point.
Maybe the universe does not give us answers because answers would end the story. Maybe it gives us questions because questions keep us searching, keep us alive, keep us human. So let this be the reflection we take away. If there is a planet with a 99.7% chance of life, then the cosmos is not empty. It is alive. And if it is alive, then we are not alone. And if we are not alone, then the silence of the stars becomes the loudest mystery of all.
Why are we still alone?
And if life exists, what does it want?
These are not questions with easy answers.
They are questions that will haunt our species for generations, questions that may one day define our destiny. But they are also questions that bind us together. Because whether you are a scientist, a dreamer, a skeptic, or a believer, the questions belong to all of us. They are the inheritance of being human under the stars. James Webb hasn't just changed astronomy. It has changed what we believe about our place in the universe. And that may be its greatest gift. Not planets, not atmospheres, not statistics, but perspective. The knowledge that we are smaller than we imagined, and yet part of something larger than we can comprehend. That we are fragile and yet capable of wonder. That we are temporary and yet able to glimpse eternity. That we are one world and yet connected to countless others by the thin threads of light Webb has captured. This is the gift and the burden of discovery. It does not end with an answer. It begins with a question. So as you leave this journey, let that question linger. Let it unsettle you, inspire you, humble you. If there is a planet with a 99.7% chance of life, then the universe is far stranger and far richer than we ever dared to dream.
And that is worth everything.
If this left you in awe, give this video a like, share it with someone who wonders about the stars, and subscribe to join us on the next step of this cosmic journey. Until then, remember, stay curious, because the universe is not finished whispering its secrets. It has only just begun.